I
Thank
think
you.
it's beautiful. It's hilarious. What were some of the more painstaking elements of making this? What maybe took the longest, or which had the more complicated technical side of it?
Well, I got to say, Malrageous was probably one of the most massive technical undertakings at the studio. We literally were, with the scale of the city, breaking the rules of physics in terms of what a computer is capable of calculating within the space that we've actually created. So we made a city, based on Ruben's designs, and the city was so large that the tiniest of characters, like Tiny Diamond, were actually disintegrating in the scene because the scope of the city couldn't actually calculate something that small.
Sounds like some Christopher Nolan stuff.
It ended up being that.
It turns out that some very simple designs turn out to be the most complex technical challenges. One of them was we have a cloud landscape, but of course the clouds are all made out of fiber. You can imagine it's a bazillion fibers to render, and our little characters are felted walking through a landscape of just millions of fibers, and that was a huge challenge. Yeah.
Rhonda too, the character was pretty huge in terms of her technical difficulty because, as we were talking about earlier, she's both a character and a location. So there were moments where you'd see her running, and we'd like say, "Oh, we want the door open here, and we want to see the character here," and we'd hear like, "Oh, but we can't look in the door because the location isn't actually in there," and we'd have to come up with a way to make it all look like it belongs. And so she was challenging, but I think a very worthwhile challenge. We're so happy and excited with how Rhonda came out.
Yeah.
Animation, it's such an art form that takes so much time, so much effort, and I've often heard when animators are working on these characters that they often put a part of themselves in them. So which character are you the most like from Trolls, and how so?
I feel like I'm not grumpy enough to be Branch, but I feel like there's so much that I identify with him, especially in this film being the youngest of the brothers, because I identify with that very much.
And you do have a falsetto of gold.
I do.
Yeah.
Later I'll do a little something for you.
You don't want to shadow the diamond.
I also identify, though, I think very much with Floyd, because I always grew up. I was always I felt like more sensitive. I think especially a lot of artists can identify, with that sort of thing. I felt like I was, loud noises or even emotions and that sort of thing, and I always felt a lot. You know what I mean? I felt a lot.
Turns out to be your superpower.
Yeah, exactly. Which I now turned into a job. But yeah, I feel like I definitely identify with him, in the film.
I really, identify, I think, with the character of Crimp in this film. She's just so integral and trying to figure out all the technical details. And then she's got a schematic for the the shoulder pads and all of these things. She's got a little notepad and a little a marker in her hair, and I don't know. I just love her frenetic energy of trying to get things done with all of the chaos that's happening.
I would say I think sometimes I relate maybe a little too much to Poppy and her optimism, and not that it's always a bad thing, but it can bowl over real emotions that need to happen. And so I think sometimes I get a little overly positive and we can do it, anything's possible, guys.
We like that too.
We like that.
It can be a good thing.
I relate to many of the characters, and what I relate to most in the movie is these different scenes that show their dynamics and usually the dysfunction and how they come back together, because I feel like those are moments that are fairly authentic to anybody who has siblings. So they're rehearsing, but then all of their past comes back to break up their rehearsal. And there's still this I'm the oldest brother, I'm the leader, or I'm older, and almost like there's an assumed hierarchy in this family that was there from the beginning, but it's so authentic to the real world.
One more favorite dance move that was animated in this.
Dance move. That's a good question. I do love, just because it's an emotional moment, I do love Branch begrudgingly starting to dance with his brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite animated shots in the film, and one of my favorite moments for Branch. But in terms of actual dance move, I think a lot of stuff Velvet and Veneer do that kind of defies, they don't have any bones or anything, so you can kind of do, a lot. I think a lot of stuff that they did, I really enjoyed.
Same, I love Velvet and Veneer because it's like those characters are perfect for animation, where in animation we can do anything we can imagine, and they dance in a way that humans wouldn't naturally be able to. They might do a twist, but it's a twist from their pelvis all the way up to their neck.
I love that moment where Branch is getting pulled in. You actually watch, the animation is beautiful because you watch him go begrudgingly up onto stage, and over the course of maybe 30 seconds, he goes from just, and then he's kind of into it, and then he's fully committed into it, and the world expands out. That's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I agree. Same for me. It's how much character and feeling you guys portrayed in that moment is it blows me away every time I see it. So it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Congrats again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John.